And now here again is Dr. Tony Campolo. Tony, it's always such a privilege to have you as part of our program and for me to listen to your philosophy and your approach to life itself. You are so accomplished. You've done so many things. You had to start somewhere. Where did this calling start with you?
You know, whenever anybody says, how were you called into ministry? I always say, well, when I was a little boy, my mother used to say to me, you were brought into this world to love other people in the name of Jesus Christ, to serve other people, especially the poor and the oppressed. Do you understand that? People say, how did you get called to the ministry? And my response is, I never was called. My mother decided. and people say, well, parents can't decide things like that for their children. And I say, why not? Everybody else is telling their children what to do with their lives. The media is, their peer group, the counselor at school. What is wrong with a parent standing up and saying, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. My calling to serve Jesus Christ came from my mother, and that's a good place for it to come from. And I advise all mothers and fathers to do that for their children.
Remember the athlete talking about, we aren't role models. Yeah, the role models ought to be the mothers and fathers.
That was Charles Barkley, and he's absolutely right. I think mothers and fathers have to understand that they are the ultimate role model. I'm a sociologist.
Sure.
The degree to which children replicate the patterns that they've learned from their parents has everything to do with what happens in their lives. In a sense, parents become the instrument of God that call children into service to his kingdom. Every parent should see himself or herself as an instrument of God to call children into service.
I like that. What do you say to the parent, though, that think they are guiding their children in the right direction, but they don't seem to be getting through with the message?
Well, that's a good one. I think that in that point, they have to do this. I always say this. Every parent needs to take time out each day. Hardly any do this. I didn't do this myself up until a couple of decades ago, of being absolutely still in the morning, of creating what the Celtic Christians called a thin place, to go off by myself and just be still and allow the Spirit of God to flow into me, to allow the energy of God to flow into me and to take hold of me. And after you've said all that you can say to a child, maybe it's time to stop talking. And maybe it's time to just get filled with the Spirit each day and just to go up to that kid and put your arm around that kid and let the Spirit of God flow through you into that child. I know that's quite mystical and very postmodern, but I believe that God is a power, an energy force that can flow into us and through us if we will take time to become holy, as the old hymn said. And so when you've done your best and said, this is what you ought to do with your life, let God flow through you into your child.
Let go and let God.
That preaches.
Thank you. Tony, always a pleasure.